What if the oldest civilization on Earth knew something we still do not? Not myths, but coordinates, maps, messages, buried in clay and time, lines pressed by reeds, a language of stone and stars. From this small blue sphere, we once looked up and wrote everything down. Some claim the Sumerians listed every star with life and marked the one that contacts Earth. If true, it rewrites everything. Tonight, we follow the marks they left, from mud brick ziggurats to the edge of the galaxy. This is the enigma of the star tablet, the Sumerian tablet that lists every star with life and marks the one that contacts Earth. Between the Tigris and Euphrates, an impossible leap. Sumer, city-states, law, mathematics, astronomy, arriving with startling maturity. Uruk, Lagash, names etched into clay and memory. They wrote in wet clay, then fired the sky into permanence. Ziggurats rose like mountains built for measuring heaven. They tracked Venus, lunar eclipses, and omens in the night. Lists, columns, orders, system where others had myth alone. Modern scholars found method, cycles, periods, predictions. The shock was not that they watched the sky, it was how precisely they listened to it. Prisms, lists, star catalogs, names older than empires, symbols we still debate, decoration or data. Pieces lost to flood and fire hint at a bigger record. Thousands survive. A few whisper something stranger, a murmured claim, a tablet that listed living stars. If numbers align, then list becomes map. If map, then message. Sumer saw the heavens as a structured court. Priests were observers. Observers, archivists. One line, different ink, deeper cut, or later hand, a mark that does not match the rest. Their math, base 60, elegant for angles and time, a circle that fits both heaven and horizon. Patterns, eclipse series, Venus cycles, watch stars. Between reflection and reality, they measured truth. Then came the rumor of a different tablet, not a calendar, a census of the living sky. Accounts speak of a tablet cataloging inhabited stars. Its script, standard. Its content, anything but. Columns mirror constellations when ordered by declination. Ancient astronomy, rebuilt in light. One entry deviates, emphasized, isolated. Provenance debated. Fragments, attributions, whispers. Scans reveal depth change on the anomalous glyph. Read down, across, then skip. An encoded path emerges, not a mythic figure, a root, a later hand, or original emphasis. Control samples lack any such mark. From Earth to a single point among thousands. Not the brightest, not the nearest, deliberate. Pieces scattered, story intact. The claim remains unverified and extraordinary. It could be misread ritual language, or a calendar codex mistaken for a cosmic census. But patterns persist when skeptics walk away, and the mark keeps pointing to where and why. No labs confirm life across those stars. It is a hypothesis wearing an ancient cloak. Yet the alignment tempts the open mind. A tool, a sign, or artistry mistaken for instruction. There is only one way to test a path. Look where it points, and listen. Another thread winds through Sumer, Anunnaki, called the High Ones, judges of heaven and earth, interpreted by some as gods, by others, visitors. Myth entwined with cosmology, stories of descent, instruction, departure. Gifts named measures, laws, celestial order. Temples became launchpads of thought. But does knowledge descend or arise? Tools of patient accumulation, coincidence, or contact? The Anunnaki theory argues the latter. A craft, a symbol, an omen? Old eyes, new instruments, same sky. Our emotions betray our questions. Skeptics see projection. Believers see pattern. Both demand evidence. A gift in stone is still a puzzle. A sign in the sky is still a question. Where systems meet, signals emerge. Did they look at us, back, and leave a mark so we would look at them? Myth is a map until proven wrong or right. Motif or memory? Noise or message? We continue not to worship, but to verify. Because some questions refuse silence, and some marks refuse to fade. Ahead, the star that answers. To test a mark, we listen to a sky. The tablet points into a quiet corner. From here, our instruments sweep the dark. Noise everywhere. Patterns sometimes. Old notation meets new coordinates. That sigil recurs across fragments. A whisper or wishful thinking? Researchers log anomalies, rare, disputed, fragile. Narrowband pings, drifts corrected. Doubts remain. We ask for repetition. The sky answers with silence. The tablet answers with emphasis. Point again. Wait longer. A hint returns. Not proof, provocation. The marked star earns a file of its own. Cut deeper, drawn straighter, pressed harder. Formatting deviates in three ways. Isolation, emphasis, repetition across copies, different tablets, same position. If not a star, then a story. If a star, then a statement. Statement, we are here. Or, we were. Contact need not be voice. It can be geometry, sequence, structure, intent. We calibrate for humility, extraordinary claims, careful ears. But signal without rigor is only hope. So we file the mark under, watch this sky, and we keep listening. Institutions move slowly, for good reasons. But slowness can look like silence. Archives hold more than headlines. Gatekeeping or guardianship depends on the day. Fragments wait years for eyes to meet them. Ignored is not always suppressed, but some threads are uncomfortable to pull. Funding, fashion, fear of error. So the door remains half open. Meanwhile, the sky does not wait. 2 marks. 1 question. Will we ask it out loud? This is not proof. It is pursuit. A pursuit older than history, which is to say, human. We return to the oldest page, pressed by hands that stared into night and did not blink. From here, our questions grew cities, and storms still roll over our doubt. 1 mark, across 3,000 years. What if humanity has misunderstood its origins from the very beginning? What if the message was always there, quiet, patient, precise? If so, our answer begins with listening, not with fear, with care. Look up, and remember who first wrote the sky. Until the next signal. We thought precision belonged to telescopes. Then Clay spoke. Alignments recorded with a discipline that should not exist. Not then. Planetary paths set into grids that anticipate their crossings. Quiet numerals tracing conjunctions as if rehearsed. Lunar cycles, meticulous, predictive, etched by hands that watched for lifetimes. They name the month the moon hides, the month it stains the sun, how many breaths, until it happens again. Distant points tracked across generations, errors smaller than chance. Constellations rotate, the scribes adjust. A tiny correction here, a patient note there. Knowledge of celestial movement that behaves like an instrument's memory. Tables that foresee eclipses, intervals that whisper geometry. Not miracles, methods, not magic, memory carried like fire. We see planetary alignments mapped as sequences, not omens, measurements bound to cycles, repeated to test themselves. And yet, a remainder resists. How did they begin this far in? Where are the false starts, the broken calendars, the long mistakes we expect at the beginning? Theories multiply, Inheritance, lost instruments, outside influence. Some speak of a library that drowned brass that rusted away a teacher that never signed its name. If instruction came, it wore stone as its voice, marks that do not argue, only endure, while empires translate and forget and translate again. Lunar period lists that converge on the true planetary tables that refine with a stubborn calm. They track distant stars as if waiting for something to shift, precession hinted at in margins, a drift measured in centuries. The sky writes slowly, the clay does not rush it. We look for tools, sighting rods, shadow wells, horizon gates. We find alignments that favor solstice light, city walls that agree with the stars more than with the ground. Maybe patience is the lost instrument. Maybe community is the machine. And still, how do first steps land so near the summit? Planetary alignments counted like heartbeat patterns, eclipse seasons nested like shells, a calendar that behaves like a proof. If there was an outside influence, it may be no more than discipline taught earlier than we think. Or it may be something we cannot stage with what survives. Caution remains, claims soften, the data sits. When patterns survive empires, the question survives with them. We are left with tables that look forward and ruins that face upward. The sky keeps its pace. We keep our doubt. Listen for the interval. Watch the remainder. It is small, but it points somewhere. Some marks instruct, others, caution. A deeper cut, an isolated glyph, repetition across copies, read as root, and also as threshold. Warnings seldom shout, they endure. Gap ones, dust returns to every floor. Yet this symbol refuses. If travelers once mapped approach, perhaps they also set limits. Alignment, then abstain, approach, then wait. The stone speaks the language of restraint, not fear, parameters, not prophecy, procedure. If we ignore procedure, the sky answers with silence. A measured gate, not a door. Intervals like breath, held, released, held again. Markers that favor dusk, never the center of night. The path narrows where the numbers tighten. A fixed point, and then the absence of a next step, as if the map stops on purpose, as if the maker stood here and chose not to cross. Gap ones, low marks for approach, high marks for patience, a sign set to be found only by those who count. Storm lines etched where eagerness gathers. The warning is not a word, it is a rhythm withheld. Wait for the interval, match it, or do not proceed. The sky keeps no appointments we make for it. When limits appear, they arrive as margins, not walls. The tablet holds to margins like a shoreline. Beyond it, uncharted quiet. Proceed only to the line that repeats. Stand where the figures settle. Then stand still. Gap ones. If the threshold answers, it will do so slowly. If it does not, do not force the door the numbers did not open. Listen for the interval. Watch the remainder. It is small, persistent, pointing not just where to go, but where to stop. The warning left in stone is patience, enforced, and the sky listening keeps its counsel. Fade. Earth turns, and the oldest questions turn with it. We inherit night like an unfinished sentence. Between galaxies, the record keeps its own time. Gap ones. If maps survive us, will their meaning do the same? We listen because listening is a kind of memory. Gap ones. If they knew, we forgot. If they warned, we learn, slowly. Gap ones. Somewhere, a path becomes a horizon, and then a choice. The sky remains patient. We practice patience back. Gap ones. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not whether we are alone, but whether someone has been watching us since the beginning. Gap 1's constellations were not only pictures, they were positions. Symbols repeat where stars do not. Lines connect points, numbers connect centuries. In several tablets, the same angle appears, exact to a breath. Grids under starlight distances scaled, ratios intact. Patterns recur at intervals longer than one life. Gap 1's. What if the map carried instructions hidden in geometry? Columns become cycles, margins become keys. A mark returns every n risings, like a password. Not a myth, an encoding. Gap 1's. To read it, you match the sky and the silence between. If true, the stars held more than light. They held memory. Distant builders wrote with stone, on different continents, night presses close to pyramids, circles alike, the same sky leans over all of them. Their stories align, a flood, skyborn teachers, returning stars. In carvings and codices, the timing changes, but the sequence does not. Axes of temples meet solstice light across oceans. Shadows fall like clock hands at Giza, at Chichen Itza, at Stonehenge, speaking one language of sunrise. Circles in Britain, pyramids in Egypt, steps in Mesoamerica, same sky. Their stones wait for a precise edge of light, as if answering a signal. Names differ. Angles rhyme. The tilt, the bearing, the count of steps to the horizon, echoes separated by water. Either genius converged, or someone kept a shared calendar. Lower drone, near silence. A schedule etched in light and season, copied, guarded, carried. Not worship alone, measurement, not legend alone, procedure. Align, observe, record, repeat. Build memory into monuments so time cannot erase it. The pattern is wider than any single ruin. It stretches from desert to jungle to moor, an archipelago of alignments. Follow the angles and the map redraws itself. End on a star-filled aerial drifting above aligned monuments. We chart night to remember what day forgets. The record may be older than our languages. If the code exists, it waits in motion, patient. What if the oldest stories on Earth were never myths at all? And what if humanity's forgotten past is still written? In the stars, we listen, we wait. The sky keeps its counsel. If this intrigued you, like and subscribe for more.